So I recently made a video on how to find the perfect hunting boot, which you can find here. And in that video, I said all hunting boot reviews are nearly useless. So why then am I doing a hunting boot review? Well, also like I mentioned in that video, I think it helps to hear different people's experiences with different boots, because you start to realize some similarities and differences between different boots, and you start to be able to highlight the things that you yourself are looking for in a boot. I still don't think there's a replacement for physically trying on a boot yourself. I still think the best boot tip I've ever received or shared is you should order multiple boots to your house, wear them all around your house for a day or two, figure out which one fits best, and return all the rest. I still think that's the most successful way to find a boot. But I've been running these for a decent amount of time now, and I am extremely impressed. So I thought it would be valuable to share with you why I like this boot so much and why I have switched from my old kind of all-purpose mountain boot to this new, which I consider to be the best all-mountain boot I've ever worn. For some context, I got these boots early spring. So far, I've probably done somewhere between 30 and 35 training hikes that are about 90 minutes long each, and I wear a 50-pound pack on each of these hikes. In addition to that, I did 2 black bear hunts, one on Vancouver Island, one in northern BC, probably 12 to 14 days field total each. And then I just finished a 12-day mountain goat hunt. So while I haven't worn these for multiple consecutive years, I've probably put more miles on them in the last 5 months than most people do on their hunting boots in 2 to 3 years if they're only doing one kind of 10-day elk hunt a year. So I feel confident that I've used them enough to make an educated commentary on the boot themselves. These are an all leather boot. I prefer all leather boots. I like the way they grow to fit my feet. I think they're more waterproof. I just like the more traditional nature of them. I'm still looking around for synthetic options to try out and test and review. So if you have a favorite synthetic boot that you think would be a good, comparison against these, drop them in the comments section below, and I'll try and pick up a pair. I have size 14 feet, so getting boots in stock can be somewhat challenging. My previous favorite boot to these were the Schnees Beartooths. I've run them for many years in all kinds of hunting situations. I find them an incredibly versatile boot. However, now that my calendar is more like half mountain hunts, half regular hunts, I wanted something stiffer. Also, with my Morton's Naroma and with the longer hunts I tend to do in heavier packs, I just prefer a stiffer boot. I find my feet feel better, after long durations. They hold up more during long hunts. And just in general, it adds more stability to my hiking. I used to compete in jiu-jitsu. I've had my ankles popped a couple times. I've rolled my ankles various times through sports and other, adventures throughout life. So I don't have the most robust ankle strength. And so having a stiffer boot that offers a little more ankle support is something I've tended to gravitate towards. I still think the Beartooths are a phenomenal option for those people looking for kind of a less stiff, more general purpose hunting boot and not quite as focused on the mountain hunting aspects. Let's get into some of the tech specs. Now, a lot of this is just gonna be marketing jargon, but we're gonna run through it anyways. So, like I said, I'm a size 14. These are European sized boots. So I took a size 48. They fit perfectly. Now, the lining is H-Dry Direct Lamination 37.5. The weight of one of these boots in a size 42 is 1 pound, 8.5 ounces. The upper is a 2.6 millimeter suede perwanger with a Microtech tongue. The outsole is a Vibram Precision Tech Roll. They're made in Italy. The last, like the design of the last itself, is referred to from Scarpa as their ARG design. They have different lasts for different boots, and some different boots use the same last. So if you find a last that works for you, look for a similar last, and that boot should work for you as well. The last I want you to consider it's like the frame the boot is built around. It is the shape and the contour of the footbed that then the sole and the leather upper are attached to. So it's the thing that is most responsible for the fit and function of the boot in relation to your individual foot. So when people say I found a great boot that fits really well, they're typically referring to a last that works synergistically with their foot. The more boots I've run and the more I learn about boot design, the more I learn about how I can use the shape of my own foot to kind of predict which boots might fit better. Now, the midsole is made of 2D PU and TPU, which is some type of proprietary polyurethane, I'm sure. Before we get into what I like about this boot and why it works for me specifically, I gotta share some big news. I have just launched Mindful Hunter Outfitting after working on trying to get this off the ground for the last couple years. I will be offering mule deer hunts in Alberta, archery based, and any weapon spring black bear hunts in British Columbia. Next year, I am only offering 4 mule deer hunts and 6 black bear hunts. So there'll be very limited opportunity to get in on these hunts next year. I just released an entire kind of launch video, which you can see right here, that will go over the details, the scheduling, the pricing, all that kind of stuff. I will say that there is an early bird discount if you book and lay a deposit down by October 1st. Like I said, there's only 10 spots, so if there's something that you're interested in, contact me as soon as possible, jay@mindfulhunter.com. I think there's a lot of great outfitters and guides in the industry. However, I think I have an ability to deliver something unique in this space. I think there is a need for people who need or want to go on a guided hunt, but they still want the challenge and the learning opportunity of a DIY hunt. And through these 2 units and what I've put together, my goal is to individually tailor each hunt to the specific hunter's needs and goals. So it's going to be a very personalized service. I believe very deeply that I can deliver something of value to the hunting community. That was the entire reason why I started Mindful Hunter in the first place, was to use my own adventures and my own ups, downs, and everything in between to help other people get out into the field more. So if it's something that you're interested, get in touch with me, and I would absolutely love to help you build your next Canadian hunting adventure. Why does this boot work so well for me? Okay, up first is the last. Now, European boots tend to have a more curved last. I have a very high arch and a kind of wide forefoot and a narrow heel. So my foot fits better in boots with a slightly more curved last. Now, I used to say I need boots with a wide toe box, but then I realized that's only half the battle. I need a wide toe box so my toes can splay, but if the toe box itself is at a counterproductive angle to the angle of my foot, it doesn't matter how wide it is, it's still gonna cramp my foot. And so this boot provides an excellent balance of a slightly curved last, so my foot comes into the toe box at the right angle, and then it also still has a nice wide toe box that gives my toes lots of room to splay. The boot is incredibly stiff. Like, that's all I got. I like really stiff boots for all the reasons that I mentioned beforehand. Now, traditionally, the problem with stiff boots is that they walked like concrete blocks. Now, there's some proprietary stuff going on in here. I think I wrote it down somewhere. They've got a dynamic tech roll system, an enhanced rocker profile, and I mentioned already the Vibram Precision Tech Roll. What does that mean? It means that they have engineered the boot to have a better rolling gait. So the big thing that made me fall in love with this boot is that it gave me the stability and the rigidity of a mountain boot, but it enabled me to walk on long, hard, flat trails and not feel like I was walking on concrete blocks. Like it's got a real natural gait to it. You don't feel like you're like in other, like even my last Sportiva Nepals. It's like there's a very clear difference between a heel strike and the foot placement, where this is like a much more rolling gait, which decreases, kind of wear and tear on your feet and just keeps you feeling a little more energetic and keeps your feet feeling better over the course of the hunt, and also creates a boot that is more versatile in several different circumstances. Up next, this boot has an oddly tight instep, which at first bothered me. Like normally the tongue opens much further, and then when you tighten the boot, you have more excess material in the side, and you kind of have the tongue operating independent of the rest of the upper part of the boot. But what I've noticed is because this instep is so tight and you kind of have to pop your foot into the boot naturally hugs your instep down and sucks your heel back into the heel pocket. And so what at first frustrated me turned out to be something that I quite like. I think they call this like active fit technology or something again, more proprietary marketing jargon that we don't need to worry about. From a functional perspective, it feels like the boot hugs my foot. In addition to that, really simple, really effective lace locks. So you kind of have two tightening regions on the boot. You can independently adjust the tightness in the forefoot and the tightness in the bottom of the calf. Finally, I would call it a light for caliber boot. I was just listening to this podcast and they're talking about bullets, like heavy for caliber and light for caliber. I'm going to call this a light for caliber boot. Now, what does that mean? This boot falls into the mountain hunting category, or that's its caliber, is a mountain hunting boot. They tend to be much heavier. They're built more durable. They have stiffer shanks in the outsole. There's just a function of how intense the construction is. It needs to be a heavier boot. That being said, for a mountain hunting boot, this feels very light on your foot. I don't think it's quite as light as the Beartooth, but it's not that far off. It also has semi-automatic crampon compatibility, so it has a heel welt, but it does not have a toe welt. And I still wonder why they just don't add toe welts on more boots. Like, I wouldn't think it would be that hard to give you an additional piece of rubber here so that you could use fully automatic crampons. But yeah, you can't have everything, I suppose. Let's talk waterproofness. I had a bit of an epiphany on this most recent hunt because sometimes I have inconsistent results testing the waterproofness of boots, or just on a hunt. Sometimes my boots feel really waterproof. Sometimes they don't feel that waterproof. So on the Vancouver Island bear hunt we went on, I had one day where I was walking back and forth across creeks all day. I never really got past the upper of the boot, and my feet stayed bone dry all day. And I hadn't even treated the boots yet. It was just the H-Dry laminate that was doing its job. I was super impressed with how waterproof they were. Then I go on about the rest of my hunts, the hikes, all this kind of stuff. And then after I treat the boots, I go on my goat hunt. One day, it's pissing rain. We're walking through like really thick, kind of thigh-high grass all day. So pants are soaking wet. And nothing will get you as wet as fast as walking through brush. Like, waterproof, breathable gear is not accounting for physical pressure. Because there's holes in all these laminates, you can push water through. It's when you're getting rained on and there's no additional pressure. That's why your rain gear always leaks where your backpack straps are, because it's forcing the moisture through there. So walking through wet stuff that's forcing moisture into the fabrics of your apparel, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. However, I always feel like my boots don't quite hold up as well in that situation as I would like. And what I realized is I wear over the calf socks. I wear the darn tough over the calf, come all the way up to the bottom of my knee. And I do that because all my socks, back when I used to be a forestry engineer, would always fall down into my boots. It was super annoying. So I just started wearing over the calf socks. And it occurred to me that even when I'm wearing gaiters, when I'm in these incredibly wet, brushy conditions, I basically have almost 18 inches of exposed sock. that is getting sopping wet and basically just pulling that liquid down into my foot. And I'm going to start doing a series of experiments on different hunts where I'm not wearing the over-the-calf sock and I don't let my sock extend past the boot. And I want to see if I can increase the functional waterproofness of my boot system in that wet brush if I don't have that exposed sock. So at the end of the day, I feel like these leather boots are just as waterproof as any of the other leather boots I've worn, which is to say, really depends on the situation. Depends how well you care for them. Depends how what treatments you use and how often you treat them. I've always liked Open House Heavy Duty LP. I'm going to start experimenting with some other stuff because, like I say, I'm not at that point where I'm fully satisfied with my boot system in that wet brush. I think I can do better. So I'll keep you guys updated. But I think they are definitely up to par with industry expectations as far as waterproofness in a leather boot. I just thought it was an interesting story to share, and in case some of you are dealing with similar issues. Okay, so at the end of the day, what's the takeaway here? This is my replacement boot for everything other than deep winter or super cold weather stuff like sitting for whitetail and stuff. But I'm about to leave on an elk and moose hunt, then I'm going to an archery elk hunt, then I'm going to be guiding moose, then I'm going to be guiding mule deer. I'm going to be wearing this boot for all of them. So if you like a lighter weight, all leather, extremely stiff boot that's more of like an athletic boot, like moves with you, I really think you're going to like these Scarpa Ribelles. These are like a 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. I couldn't be happier. I will keep you guys in the loop. One of the things I'm trying to add to the channel is like longitudinal reviews where I come back and revisit things at the end of the season or at the end of a couple of years and give you updates to reviews I've already done. So as I continue to wear these boots, I will update you as to the durability and the longevity that I get out of them. Other than that, if you have any questions about Mindful Hunter outfitting or questions about the boots in general, jay@mindfulhunter.com, or drop a note in the comments section below. If you could take this opportunity to engage with this content, help push it up in the algorithm, like, share, subscribe, all of that is greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you for tuning in.